Is it possible to have no superstars and win big in college baseball? Well, the Vandyboys are trying to prove that it is possible. Can they do it?
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. Thanks for making us part of your day. Today, we're going to look at baseball. The quarterfinals of the SEC tournament in Hoover is upon us, and the Vandyboys await a matchup or rematch versus the 12th-seeded Sooners. After stellar pitching and small ball, the Sooners find their way into the quarterfinals. However, I want to address the fact that Tim Corbett and the Commodores are proving that you don't need a superstar or a group of stars to win big. We shall see how that plays out. The overall team mentality, how has it played out? Also, some notes with basketball. Excited to note that Devin McGlockton has withdrawn from the NBA draft and will return to Vandy. And Tyler Tanner is getting some recognition from USA Basketball. He was invited to the U19 camp, so that's exciting. Players are starting to get a little bit of recognition. Their talents are not being ignored. So thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So, quarterfinal matchup against Oklahoma. Okay, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of the matchup in particular here in a little bit, but I just want to address the fact that how Vandy got to this point. They're a number 4 seed in the tournament, looking like they're going to get a top 4 seed in the national rankings as well, which means they will host a regional and a super regional. But how do they get there? Like, teams in the past have had guys, like LSU had Paul Skeens, like he dominated the tournament, Jack Caglione for Florida, Charlie Condon with Georgia, and the list goes on and on and on. I could name guys here and there all throughout this list. But if you look at Vandy, and usually, even if they're not superstars, the all-SEC team or the all-conference team, whatever the respective conference is littered with those players, right? It's just kind of the way it is. Like, the best team usually has the most players make all-conference first and second team. Well, Vandy didn't have that many accolades because I think the stats were so spread out and everybody kind of contributed that it just didn't really matter. So they didn't have any superstars. Like, Vastine he's a great player. He's not a superstar. He's not a memorable guy. Like, RJ Austin is not a superstar. And so on, and Connor Fennell and all those guys. Like, there's no absolute just you look at the roster and you're like, that is a superstar. They have superstar potential, and I think they will. I think these guys could do really well in the MLB. Like, I'm not saying that, but as far as like just bona fide superstars, like here's the all-conference accolades. That's it. Sawyer Hawks he's a closer. Like, how much of a superstar he's a great closer, all-conference second-team closer, but he's a great player. Brody Johnston, great freshman, has a lot of potential, but he's not a superstar yet. I say on some of these guys because they could blossom into stars. Or like Jonathan Vastine, I think he's going to eventually blossom into a star in the MLB as a shortstop. But it's not a team that you would look at and say, holy cow, like that is there's not one guy that like Charlie Condon last year for Georgia, like you knew when Georgia came in, like, hey, we got to watch out for Charlie Condon, and everything just kind of fell in around him. But how does Vandy win with this type of team? What's the mentality like? No superstars, no problem, right? How does it happen? Well, you have elite character. That's the number one thing. Like, you have guys willing to put the team's needs first. The example of that is Connor Fennell coming out of the bullpen in the last series. Like, he was struggling, and he could have pouted. He could have been all upset and in his feelings. Oh, I didn't, woe is me. I didn't pitch well. And, they replaced me in the starting rotation for the weekend series against Kentucky. Oh no, all up in his feelings. Instead, he's like, hey, you know what, Coach Corbin, I'll come out of the pen if you need me. I have no problems. I'm here. Just holler at me. And he came in and threw 5 1/3 scoreless innings after Bowker got off to a rough start to finish off Sunday or Saturday's game, I should say, against Kentucky. So like stuff like that, like laying down bunts, playing small ball, playing out of position. Like RJ Austin has been the ultimate team guy for a long time. I think he's played every position on the field. Currently in center field though. Guys like hitting into scenarios, having a players only meeting, like doing things that puts the team's needs first, right? Because like these guys were getting their stats. These guys are getting NIL. These guys are whatever. And they could have been selfish and like they're losing, but they could have not cared. They could have whatever. But because they have elite character, they're like, hey, we need to fix this. We need, and it wasn't one of those things where, sometimes you got these players only meetings and it's very phony and contrite. But this wasn't. This seemed kind of genuine. This seemed like, hey, we got like their leadership is great. And speaking of that, this character was built by great leadership and the leadership beyond Tim Corbin. Tim Corbin's a phenomenal leader. He organizes all this. He sets the culture, and these guys buy into it, and they help feed into it, and they help make sure that the new guys, the core of this team, RJ Austin and Jonathan Vastine in particular, Braden Holcomb, I'm trying to think who else was in the core of the team, but like these guys make sure that the character is not only developed within the new guys, whether it be freshmen or transfers. They make sure the character's upheld throughout the season. They hold they hold each other accountable, and the team. Obviously, they look up to Tim Corbin. That can go without saying. But they look up to Vastine. They look up to RJ Austin. They look up to Braden Holcomb. They look up to JD Thompson. Like these guys, and even Sawyer Hawks, because he transferred in last year. But these guys have established themselves, and because they not only preach it, they live it, and then they also back it up with the way they play. Each and every night. They play hard. I mean, this team, the grittiness, the toughness, how hard they play, how much they fight you. It's great, man. And this resilience and toughness is a key trait, honestly. And they were never down and out. Games, series, whatever the case may be, they were never down and out. It's a championship trait, honestly. They get down and they're going to battle back. They're going to do whatever they can to battle back. And this is, it's characteristics of a great team. It's a championship. This is a cliche, what I'm about to say, so I apologize in advance, but it is championship DNA, right? And whether or not they go out and execute and win a championship, that takes a lot of luck. That takes a lot of execution. That takes a lot of there's other teams that are really good too that you got to go out and beat. But the makeup of this team is resilient, tough, and they're very secure in their character, and they have great character, and they understand what they need to do and how they need to do it in order to execute and win these games. So this is a very exciting bunch, and they got a really good matchup here, a chance to kind of atone for what ended up being the turnaround of the season. The Oklahoma series. They dropped 2 out of 3 in Norman. Well, now it's a neutral site, a site that Vandy is more used to than Oklahoma, although Oklahoma's made a hell of a run. How does this matchup fare? Can Vandy play like they did in the Sunday game, or will they come out and play like they did in the Saturday game? That remains to be seen. We'll talk about it next. Hey, FanDuel, right? The NBA playoffs are in full swing. It's every night, man. It's highlight-worthy performances. I mean, the Timberwolves, that's going to be a series now. Them and the Thunder, that's going to be a series. And there's some can't-miss moments there. The Knicks-Pacers is going to be a great series as well. And if you get a game-winning shot or a breakout player, Tyrese Halliburton, there's never a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. So which players are showing up in the biggest moments and how could tracking their trends help you build your next bet? Well, you just got to look at the stats, follow the stats. So you could combine live props and mid-game bets based on how the action unfolds. So live betting is my preference. And I've got to read, and if you've got to read on who's heating up, why not back it up with a same-game parlay? You could go in and get you a live same-game parlay. Maybe there's some updated things. Somebody's on a heater, whatever the case may be. You could do that. And how could a $200 bonus in bets add to the excitement of if your first $5 bet hits? Just think about that for a second. $5 to win $200 just instantly. That's amazing. So if you're new to FanDuel, it's a perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com, place your bet, and place your first $5 bet to be exact. And if it wins, you get $200. $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA and other leagues as well. All right, thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Shout out to you everydayers. Thank you for making this show what it is. Even if you're an everydayer, thank you. If you're a first-timer, thank you. If you're a first-timer that plans on returning, thank you even more. If you're somebody who's just strolling on by, if you're one of those Sooner fans and you're tuning in, you're strolling on by and you want to stick around, hit that subscribe button. All of you guys are phenomenal. Also, if you need a second listen, Locked On SEC is the place to go. Chris Gordy does a phenomenal job covering the best conference in all the land. And if you want even more unique perspective, just check out any of the SEC shows out there like Locked On Ole Miss, Locked On Florida, Locked On Gators, really, Locked On Auburn, Locked On Bama, Locked On Mizzou, any of those shows. Phenomenal. You can't miss. It's the SEC. You can't miss any of these. And the entire conference is finally covered now. Locked On Mississippi State. That's a good one. So anyway, it's a good matchup here. I'll throw out the bracket. This is not the most updated recent bracket, but I will say that Oklahoma is facing against Vandy in the quarterfinals, and this is an interesting matchup. Why? Because these two teams have recent history. Oklahoma was winners of 2 out of 3. They took the series earlier or midway through the season. That was a turning point for Vanderbilt. That kind of galvanized this group, and they got to this point because Oklahoma not only shellacked them, but they did a little bit of trash talking. They got under their skin. They forced them to play with a chip on their shoulder. So there were some hit by pitches and things like that. Like it got kind of wild a little bit. But that was a turning point for Vandy. So in essence, or in a way, it's kind of appreciated what they did. You know, it woke it up, right? It made the Vandy players like, oh, this is not acceptable. And they, the accountability measure, and it drove this quote, right? We just got to have fun. Just be us, play with a chip on our shoulder, right? That's what brought that meeting about, was the Oklahoma Sooners. Now, most recent update on Oklahoma is it was a pitching duel with small ball, and it is a really good win against Georgia for Oklahoma. Kyson Witherspoon, Oklahoma threw their ace against the Bulldogs. So, Vandy will be getting the number 2 guy. But he pitched 7 2/3. He allowed the game's first run on a sac fly and didn't give up much after that. And it was, it was a game of small ball. It was a bunch of sac flies and getting guys around the bases, and nothing really of note, but it was kind of a pitcher's duel a little bit, and Georgia was kind of held at bay, and Oklahoma didn't have to do much because Witherspoon was pitching outstanding. He was pitching lights out. So this is an interesting matchup for Vanderbilt, because I think when coming into it, I know coming into the tournament, I just kind of assumed that Georgia would kind of just win that game, because they were the better team. They hit the most bombs. But this is going to show, this game proves everything that I thought about postseason baseball that was right. Pitching outduels hitting in the postseason. Okay. When things get a little tight, pitchers have more control over the pace of the game. Pitchers can outduel hitters, right? It happens in the MLB, happens everywhere. Elite pitching. Now you can't have elite pitching and go out and score no runs and win, or go out and score like one run and win, right? You have a little bit of run support, but like if you're a team like Georgia who just mashes the ball, they don't pitch that well, but they just torpedo the ball everywhere. Like, you're not going to get great results because like hitters are a little bit more dialed in. There's a little bit more sense of urgency in postseason play. Like there is things that happen in postseason tournaments, whether it's conference tournament, regional, super regionals, and it gets even tighter in Omaha. But great pitching usually headlines these games, and Vanderbilt has that. And I'm not sure. I haven't seen who's starting this game against Oklahoma. I have to assume that it's J.D. Thompson, but I'm not positive. They haven't released that information as far as I know. But this is going to be one of those games where Vandy finally gets to show off their elite pitching, right? They finally get to say, okay, this is what we've been working on. This is what we've been working towards. We've built an elite bullpen that is ready, or not a bullpen, but an elite pitching staff that is built for postseason play. And I would love to be proven right here, because I think this is utmost importance. Now, I think Vandy's going to score enough runs, but these games usually aren't run fests like the regular season games are, because I think regular season there's not as much pressure. The hitters are a little bit more relaxed. The pitchers are not quite as dialed in. So sometimes you get a lot of a scoring fest, and sometimes you get boring pitchers duels. It just depends on who's more locked in any given moment. Well, both sides are locked in, and the hitters are usually tighter because they're like trying to win the game on every swing. So, pitching can take care of that. I mean, just think about it. Florida, when they won with Jack Hagley, they had elite pitching. Obviously, when LSU won their last national championship, they had some guy named Paul Skeens, who is going to dominate Major League Baseball because he throws 100 miles. He's one of the sickest pitchers in Major League Baseball. He throws 100 miles an hour and has pitches that have elite movement on it. He's a freak of nature. And him and Livy Dunn are the power couple. But it's that's superstar status and elite pitching. Those kind of things win these type of matchups. And I love that Vandy's avoiding Witherspoon, because Witherspoon is their ace. I'm very happy in the fact that Vandy is getting lucky and avoiding Kyson Witherspoon, but they have a good pitching staff. They have a great closer. So if they're up and Dylan Crooks comes into the game, Dylan Crooks comes into the game, he's gonna sit you down, and they're good enough to beat you. And if you're not focused, if you're not hitting your spots, they can punish you at the plate. They can put the ball into play. They can drive the ball in the gaps and over the fence. So, but another thing that's going in favor of Vanderbilt in this series is Vanderbilt's a completely different team now, also than they were when they transformed in Norman Saturday night going into Sunday. Right, they're a completely different team. They showed it on that Sunday game, and they've shown it all the way through since then, which they've had some losses along the way. They haven't been undefeated, but like those losses have been more competitive. They've been more run-filled. It's just a couple of bad things here and there, small things that derailed them in those losses. But for the most part, they've been a tremendously different team at the plate. Their approach has been a lot more relaxed, and that's just they've been able to thrive a little bit in their pitching. It took a small step backwards, but for the most part, I think it's remained pretty constant. So this is going to be an interesting matchup. This is going to be really good. I can't wait to see just kind of what Oklahoma throws out there. If J.D. Thompson goes, can he sit those guys down? Can he be efficient and be effective, hit his spots, and get guys out? If he can get guys out and minimize the damage, if he can hit his spots, if he can paint the corners, whatever cliche you want to use there, I think Vandy will win this game pretty easily. They're, like I said, they're a totally different team with a totally different mindset, and so I'm really liking this matchup now. And then they're gonna face the winner of Tennessee and Texas, which I think it's gonna beat Texas. So that's my prediction. But I'm very excited. But I want to switch gears to basketball. This basketball team they're full of excitement. They might have a superstar on their hands. I don't know. Well, I'll tell you about who that is next. Hey, yo, welcome back. We're wrapping up the show here, Locked On Vandy on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for making us your first listen. Catch the show on social media at Locked On Vandy. At Coach Burton 36 is my personal X account. At Coach Corey Burton is my personal Instagram account. Admittedly, I've got to be a little bit more active on those accounts and give you guys something to look at more often. So I'm not quite, I don't want to say savvy because I'm pretty savvy with it. I just got to be more regular with my posting. So I will do that. I say that I'm holding myself accountable publicly so that you guys know that there is some accountability here. So I've got to do that. But anyway, follow it and you'll see it grow. But here's the thing. Speaking of seeing things grow, like it's been, okay, this show has grown at the same rate as the athletic programs. When I came in, when I debuted, football had just finished a 2-10. Abysmal. Basketball went on its one of the worst runs I've ever seen in college hoops. Baseball, they made the regionals, but it was like they just kind of like lucked in there and backed their way in and just got shelled. And so I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be a bumpy ride. Like I'm thinking this is my first 4 or 5 months of the show. This is what we're dealing with here. Like, oh gosh. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna have fun with this. I need to make some bold claims. And they came true. Mark Byington got hired, crushed it in the portal, built a team that was good enough to make the NCAA tournament, not quite get over the hump of like winning a tournament game, but he's since transformed the team even more. This is exciting. And my show, I feel like has grown a little bit. I feel like I've developed him, into a pretty good show. I've got a couple of good guests on the hook once Kurt Page gets back from Warsaw, Poland, and he's coaching in the European Football League. I've got Jawan Williams. He's going to come back here pretty soon as well. And this is going to be exciting. As soon as the information director gets back to me, Randon Fontenette wants to come on the show, but I think there's some red tape that we have to get through to get him on the show. But I've been talking with Randon via social media, so I'm very excited about that as well. Hopefully that can work out soonish, right? But here's the thing. Basketball, I'm excited about basketball, right? And basketball is not a sport that I get excited about. I'm just not a basketball guy, just in general. I don't love the NBA, which is not surprising, but I also don't love, I'll admit, I don't love the sport of basketball. I like playing pickup. I love playing pickup. But for me, it's just hard to watch. It's a hard sport for me to watch. I don't know why I can't get into it, because maybe I'm just short and can't really jump and don't have a great jump shot. I just can't relate to any of the players. Like I can relate to football more. I can relate to baseball more because I played those sports longer in my life. Like I feel like it's a relatability thing for me. I'm not 6'10", and I'm just not a great basketball player. I played up through middle school and retired from the sport because 5'8" power forwards that can't jump, it's not really a commodity in the sport of basketball. So I just kind of realized that my limitations were there. And I don't know. I just couldn't, after, I'm going to sound old when I say this, but after Michael Jordan retired, I just couldn't get into it. The sport, I think it just turned into like a one-on-one game. The style of play, and now it's just a 3-point shooting contest for the most part. The playoff basketball, the playoffs are pretty good this year. I enjoyed a little bit. Vanderbilt brought some joy back into it for me. Following the tournament a little bit deeper, brought a little bit of interest back for me. So it's growing, and Mark Byington's doing a great job of helping me grow that interest. He's building a hell of a team here. And so it's a team that you can get excited about. And somebody who's not a basketball lover, I can get excited about this team. And I'm stoked about it, right? This team has a lot of great players. And, just because I don't really love the sport doesn't mean I don't know the sport. I know the sport. I just can't relate to it. That's the reason why I'm not interested. But Tyler Tanner, invited to the Team USA under 19 camp. He's on the national team radar. I think that's a big deal. I don't know where that'll go in the future. I think it just depends on his NBA future. Like if he becomes I think he'll get more on the Team USA radar if he can develop into an NBA player. But being in the system, I think helps, and being on the U19 team, I think helps his cause because he's going to develop in that system. He's going to get those competitive reps on the international scale. He's going to be playing against some of the best in the country, and then hopefully competing against some of the best in the world in the U19 group as he's going through this camp. So this is really good experience for him. He's going to develop his game against top players, and this is going to be a lot of fun to watch. And Tyler Tanner is a player that I'm really excited about to watch his development over the course of the offseason and see what kind of impact he makes. This is a really good team with a makeup of you could have probably 30 different lineups, 30 different configurations on the court and be ultra competitive. And I think Mark Byington has done a great job of supporting his guards by bringing in really good forwards that do a lot of good different things, right? You got two big power guys. You've got some shooters. You got some wing guys. You've got a true point guard. You got some distributors. You've got all kind of things. You got all kind of roles. Your sixth and seventh, maybe even eighth men coming off the bench are going to come in with specific roles in mind. They're going to come in, and their minutes are very dictated by what they're able to do. And to be organized like that, to have defined roles like that is really good. And when you have guards that can create, if you have a guy that can shoot out there on the wing, it's great. So Tyler Tanner can do his thing. He's a scorer. He's a driver. He's going to do what Jason Edwards did last year. He already did that. It's just Jason Edwards was a little bit better, more experienced than Tanner was, but Tanner is now going to be in that catbird seat there. So this is going to be a fun team to watch. You have Jalen Washington in the middle as well, getting rebounds. He's kind of your all-around center. I mean, you've got some good makeup. Devin McGlockton coming back. He put his name in the NBA draft, I guess. He wanted to get a grade. Didn't love that grade. He's going to come back, which is great. With NIL, you're going to see more players make that decision, which I love that too. You're going to see more NBA guys not have to take that shot. I think pre-NIL, McGlockton was gone, and he was just going to chance it because I don't want to be in college anymore. I want to get paid, right? And now I think you can be a little more patient and you can develop a little more because NIL, you're going to get paid. And if you're a good player who's on the cusp of the NBA, come back for a year, develop even more. You're still going to make some good money, develop, then go into the NBA. So instead of being a high second round pick, maybe you're in the 20s, maybe you're in the late teens, right after the lottery. Or you're a late first rounder that develops into a lottery pick. So it's a bunch of different things. And, I love that Tyler Tanner's getting these Team USA reps because his development's going to go a lot faster. I think that's going to benefit what Vandy wants to do because his role is what Jason Edwards did. And it feeds his role, like Jason Edwards' role, is going to feed the rest of the offense. It's just now that the rest of the offense has guys that can do something about it, right? Because when Jason Edwards was drive and dish, and until later in the season where Tyler Nickel found his groove, you didn't really know what you were going to get, right? And if you missed a shot, that was it. Like there was no second chance points. It was a good night if Jalen Carey and Devin McGlockton could rebound. And they got outmatched a lot because they're not centers going against centers. So anyway, but it's really exciting that this team, the nucleus of this team, the makeup and build of this team, I think there's a lot of guys you can look at and go, he's going to contribute. He's going to contribute. Like you got to find the problem Mark Byington is going to have is finding minutes for all these guys. That's a problem I'd like to have. Anyway, speaking of problems, well, it's not really a problem unless you're just really enjoying the show and I have to end it. But that's all I got for you guys. Quarterfinal game, Oklahoma, right after Tennessee, Texas. So stay tuned for that. Probably gonna do a postcast as my next show for that game. Gonna do some reaction stuff there, and you can join in and ask any questions you want, whether it's about the game or Diego Pavia or any of the things that I've talked about before. But stay tuned for that. I think that's going to be the route that I'm going. So, and I may come in during the game as well, and just kind of, I can't do a live side by side, but I'll watch it and then I'll be commentating on it throughout. So anyway, regardless, be safe, anchor down. If you're down in Hoover, enjoy, and we'll see you back here next time on the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. Peace.